Hi, I'm going to show you how to kasher your kitchen. So let's start with the stove top. So the first thing would be not to use the stove top for 24 hours. That's a general rule in kashering, that whenever you kasher something, you don't use it for anything hot for 24 hours. You're going to clean the stove top very well. Now you want to kasher your grates. So for kashering the grates, there are two choices. The easiest thing to do would be to put the grates into the oven and to kasher the grates at the same time as you're kashering your oven. There is some risk if you're using self-clean, it may damage some of the finish of the grates. The other choice would be to take several sheets of silver foil, put it over the grates, and turn on both fires on the highest for half an hour and let that burn out the grates. Then you would again do it a second set of grates. If you have a middle grate like this one, probably not a good idea to kasher that grate just by turning on the fire. As you can see, it's a very small fire. The best thing would be to switch it, put it on this side, and again turn on these two fires. After you've done that, you want to line the bottom of the stovetop. You're going to cut holes out for the grate and line it with a piece of silver foil. You also want to line any area of the backsplash that it's possible that food or pots might even mistakenly touch. Just make sure that you don't cover over any of the vent holes, because that could be dangerous and also damage your oven. This is something you have to especially make sure if you have an oven like this one, which has a backsplash itself. So you might want to cover over this part of the backsplash. Make sure you don't cover over the vent holes, and make sure that there's no space which allows some of the heat to get trapped between the silver foil and the vent holes, because that could damage and ruin your oven. Okay, that's as far as the stove top. If you're kashering the oven itself, if you have a self-clean oven, then you can turn on the self-clean cycle. That's considered libun gomer, and that definitely kashers the oven. One thing, the area of the door which doesn't actually face inside the oven, that's not going to get so hot. That should be cleaned very well. If you don't have a self-clean oven, so what you have to do is you have to clean the entire oven very well. You should use an oven cleaner like Easy Off and make sure that there's nothing stuck to the oven. After that, wait 24 hours and turn on the oven at the 550 for 1 hour. After you've kashered the oven like that, you can use it. However, you should make sure not to put food directly on the grates, and make sure that no food touches the side or the top of the oven. As far as the oven hood could get dirty. You don't want to have some chametz which is stuck to the hood falling into your food, so you want to clean the hood very well. Some people cover it. It's a nice thing to do, but it's not necessary to actually cover it. This is the kashering the oven. Let's go next to the microwave. If you want the way to kasher a microwave would be, first thing is clean it very well, wait 24 hours, take a cup of water, boil it in the microwave until the microwave starts getting filled with steam. That's about 10 minutes. Move it to another place and again boil the cup of water again for another 10 minutes. When you're kashering the microwave, that does not work for the glass tray at the bottom, so either you could remove it or cover it with something waterproof. Not everybody agrees that you could kasher a microwave. Therefore, Rabbi Yashiv says the best thing to do would be that if you are kashering a microwave to Pesach, anything that you use, you should still wrap in a bag. That way, no steam is going to go out, and even if it's not kashered fully, there won't be any chametz problems. Let's talk now about kashering your sink. Now, to kasher a sink, it depends what the material is made out of. A sink which is made out of metal could be kashered, but a sink which is made out of ceramic or porcelain cannot be kashered. If it can't be kashered, so what you should do is you should clean it very well. You should buy a rack to put in the bottom of a sink, and then you should buy a basin. Put the basin on the rack, not directly on the bottom of the sink, and then you would use your sink like that. If you have a metal sink, which could be kashered, so the way to kasher the sink, again, you have to wait 24 hours without using the sink for hot water. The best idea would be to turn off the hot water. That way nobody's going to make a mistake and turn on the hot water, and then you would have to restart the 24 hours. Then when you come in to kasher the sink, after it's cleaned very well, you're going to take some boiling water, and what you have to do is you have to pour it on every surface of the sink. So the pour has to actually hit every surface of the sink. So let's say I would pour down like this, I'd be going down. So now I've kashered this area, and I would keep on moving along, and then I would again do it at the bottom of the sink. As you can see, this is going to take quite a large amount of time of pouring. Therefore, it's a good idea to have several pots on the stove, and that way you can keep on rotating, and as you wait till the next pot reheats. The water should be boiling. When you're kashering with a pot, it doesn't, you always have to wait 24 hours since you've used that pot. You could kasher with a chametz pot as long as it hasn't been used for 24 hours. You can also kasher with both a milchik or a fleishik pot. So even if you're kashering your milchik sink, you can still use a fleishik pot as long as you've waited 24 hours since the pot has been last used. It's actually better not to kasher with Pesach pots, because if you kasher with Pesach pots, there are those who say you have to re-kasher it before you use it. Let's talk about kashering the counter. Again, it depends what type of material the counter is made out of. Material that could be kashered would be granite, stone, marble, even Caesar stone, which is made out of granite, which is being crushed up and a little bit of plastic added in, could be kashered. However, ceramic tile or laminate or cement cannot be kashered. How would you kasher your counter? Again, the counter shouldn't be used for 24 hours for anything hot. Probably a good idea if you have an urn on the counter to remove it somewhere else, again, so nobody makes a mistake and spills some of the hot water on the counter. After that, again, you're going to take your pot, and you again have to pour water on every spot of the counter. Doing that would actually be very difficult, because it's going to take multiple times of pouring till you can be sure that you've hit every spot. An easier way would be to pour and then take your iron and iron the water. If the iron is hot, you'll see the water is sizzling underneath, and then you can do probably about a square foot or so at a time. Then you squeeze off the water into the sink, dry it, and again start again doing another maybe 18 inches square, and you can keep on doing those boxes as you go along the counter. This way you will not have to hit every spot, because the iron boils up the water while it's on the counter. Just make sure the iron cools down very fast. So when the iron cools down, you have to wait until the iron gets hot again. Don't worry about getting electrocuted. There is no open electricity in the bottom of the iron, and it's safe to put the iron on top of a small film of water. That's kashering the counter. What about a dishwasher? Most poskim say that you should not kasher a dishwasher for Pesach. Although there are many poskim who do allow kashering plastic, however, a dishwasher is very difficult to clean, and there are many crevices and drains where a little bit of chametz could get stuck. Remember, on Pesach, even a mashahu of chametz, even a tiny amount of chametz, could make all the water and then the dishes chametz stick. So while we would allow kashering a non-kosher dishwasher to make it kosher, we generally don't allow kashering a chametz dishwasher to be used for Pesach. So unless there's a real need, you really shouldn't kasher our dishwashers for Pesach. As far as the backsplash of the counter, anything that food might touch or pots might touch would best to be covered. So the back of the oven, which certainly can touch hot food, or the back of counters, which can touch hot food, the best thing would be to be covered with a layer of silver foil. Something which it's unlikely that food or pots would touch. It's not necessary to cover it. Let's talk about our urn. Can you kasher an urn? Well, it depends what type of urn you have. If you have the plastic urn, which doesn't get hot on the outside, and you haven't really cleaned it out with vinegar, it doesn't really need to be kashered. Just wash it well, and you can use it for Pesach. If you have a metal urn which gets hot, it's been sitting all year on the counter, very possibly has touched something chametz while it's hot and needs to be kashered. The way to kasher the urn would be to fill it up with water, plug it in, let the water boil, and really fill it up to the top, let the water boil. Then you're going to take a hot pot, take a pot over here, and open up the urn, put the hot pot in, and because the bottom of the pot, like this, because the bottom of the pot is very hot, that's going to cause all the water to spill over the side of the urn, and that will kasher the outside of the urn. Then you're going to pour some hot water around the faucet of it, and that will catch that. Going back to the sinks, similarly, you have to pour hot water over the faucets. You should pull out the faucet if it extends out, and pour hot water also over the tubing. Let's talk about kashering, cleaning our refrigerators and our freezers. The refrigerators, if you feel you can get it very clean, especially many new refrigerators where most of the pieces come out and you can clean it, there's no need to cover it. You should just clean it very, very well, and then you can use it on Pesach. You should not put a hot pot in the refrigerator on Pesach. Wait until it cools down. If it's an older refrigerator which you don't feel you can clean very well, the best thing would be to cover over the refrigerator. Just make sure that you're allowing air, the shelves of the refrigerator, just make sure you're allowing air space to circulate. And similar would be with the freezers. If you're able to clean them very well, it's not necessary to cover them. If you can't clean them very well, it would be a good idea to cover them. And that applies also to our shelves in the closet. It would be a good idea of a shelf, because there could be a little bit of chametz stuck in the shelf, to cover it over with some shelving paper. But again, if you feel that you can get it very clean, it's not necessary to do. A toaster oven cannot be kashered. It should be cleaned and put away with the items that you are selling. The general halacha is that anything that came to the table during Pesach, during the year, should be kashered before we bring it to the table on Pesach. So, example, a kiddush cup which you bring to the table during the year, even though you only use it with cold, should be kashered when it comes to Pesach. The way to kasher a kiddush cup, again, is not to use it for 24 hours. Take a pot of water, wait till it's boiling, and then dip the kiddush cup in. Then put the kiddush cup in. If you're kashering several items in that pot, just make sure before you put the next item in, the water reboils, and you can keep on putting items in. Before you kasher something, it has to be perfectly clean. If it has grooves where things can get stuck in and you can't clean, it's not possible to kasher those things. If you want to kasher, if you have a machine which makes salsa, which is just used for cold, if you want it, that does not need to be kashered. It can just be cleaned. However, the bottles which come to the table should be kashered. Since the bottles are plastic, and on Pesach we are generally strict not to kasher plastic, the best thing would be to buy new bottles for Pesach. Similarly, if you have baby bottles which are made out of plastic, we try, unless there's a real need, not to kasher plastic for Pesach, and the best thing would be to buy a new set of baby bottles. Okay, I think we've gone through the basic rules of kashering. Please feel free to call if you have any questions. Have a kosher Pesach.